Tor, welcome to the Bravo Studio channel. We're really happy to have you here, especially to talk about a very interesting topic that has been trending for a long time now, especially within the design framework and space. And we were really happy to learn that you were actually using Bravo Studio to do design sprints. So this will be the main topic for today. And we hope you all enjoy it. So first of all, I want to describe what a design sprint is, especially when we just go ahead and Google it in search. And it says like this: a design sprint is a unique 5-day process for validating ideas and solving big challenges through prototyping and testing ideas with customers. Tor, who is the creative director at UREDD, in Norwegian means unafraid. So that's an amazing title for the agency. Is going to help us understand more about how they apply design sprints in their day-to-day. So Tor, without further ado, when did you start using design sprints and why?
I think it was actually a happenstance because we are a marketing and design agency, so we do a lot of identities, visual identities and campaigns, and we are working a lot with ideas. So internally we have some kind of structure to how we are doing our work, and and we were looking for some new business opportunities because we had this large office, and we would like to see if maybe we could try to facilitate some workshops. And just by some kind of coincidence, we saw this book, and this suddenly became our Bible. So it's sprint, how to solve big problems and test new ideas in just 5 days. It's written by Jake Knapp, and he was the first who coined the sprint. He was working for Google Ventures. So when we opened this book up and we saw how they facilitate the workshop, we saw that this is an excellent way to approach complex problems. Because we found that some of our clients had problems, but since we didn't have this structure or this workshop to solve them, you could spend, weeks and months and just hitting your head against the wall because you couldn't have any progress in solving those complex objects. So by trying to reformat the way we actually deal with those kind of problems and using sprints as a technique, we suddenly saw that this was actually a very nice way for us to work. So we just, after we read the book, we haven't, tried anything else. We find that it's an elegant solution, and I also think that our clients that in this workshop with us also find it that this is a very nice way to actually work together.
That's super interesting, especially to get the client involved in the process as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, why did you choose to prototype your app with Bravo Studio?
I could take up some slides. I have a few slides that could easily maybe show why. Just let me share my screen with you. So this is your question, and I guess I need to go a bit back and see what we did in the first place, because then I used something called Proto.io, and I think I made the site in Sketch. This is an app called Icebreaker. It was my first app that I would like to try to build a prototype, and in this current time there was no software called Bravo Studio. So the only thing I found to make something that looked kind of a real app, with the interactive elements, was Proto.io, and it worked kind of okay, but it wasn't the easiest tool to use, and to have this nice interactive feedback in the app, there wasn't really any shortcuts, and it was I think it was okay. And from Proto, I went to see something called Bubble, which also is this no-code solution for building web apps. And I tried to just see some tutorials just to get a hang on what that was. And suddenly I just, went further down the rabbit hole, and I saw this no-code revolution. We had to start with no-code tools from Jesse Showalter, and he told me about Bravo. And then I just had to look up Bravo, and I guess it was just love at first sight, because it was so nice to find a tool that worked so good together with Figma, because I was starting using Figma to design, and just to see the easiness of how to take something from Figma into Bravo. It was just very intuitive. And I also liked the tone of voice and the personality in how Bravo communicated to me as a user. So it was just a nice fit. And I also understand the logic in the system quite well. I'm not a programmer. I'm an art director. So I just needed some lightweight tools to help me actually make something. And I think Bravo it has to be the tool today that I think it's most fun to work with, because it's so easy to make something that it seems like a real app. And it's a real app because you can publish it on Apple Store and Google. So it's not just this prototype. You could actually build something for real, and that's kind of amazing.
Awesome, really, really nice. So I think that's one of our main focus on easing the way to have something that is real or feels real, especially throughout the prototyping phase, and making it easier for designers or anyone using a design tool like Figma or Adobe XD. Now, what's the most challenging day during the design sprint, and why?
Yeah, I thought about this question, and I think the short answer is it depends, because every day has its own set of challenges. The first day could be most challenging for the facilitator, because there are new clients in the room. Maybe the clients haven't done this kind of design sprint before. So you have to bring everybody into the same kind of mindset, because today we're actually going to do a lot of work. And when you're doing a design sprint, you have this assignment and you have this stopwatch. So you need to make sure that, okay, now we have 10 minutes to do this assignment, then you have a this break, another 10 minutes. So for some clients that maybe are not used to this kind of work, it could be like this, that's something new. And they could spend the most of the first day just to get accustomed to this kind of working. So I guess the first day is just challenge is just to get familiar with the technique or the workshop. The second day, it's also quite demanding, because then you're going to write a lot of ideas. So it's idea generation, and you're drawing storyboards, you're drawing a lot of notes and scribbles, and some design sprints I have been to. Then you can see the clients, they are quite good at writing ideas, but when you're asking them to draw it out on they get a bit afraid that it's maybe not good enough or it's too ugly. But the thing is, you shouldn't, in that phase, you shouldn't be too critical about what you're doing. You should just, pour everything out. And I guess that also the next challenge is actually building the prototype, because then you have 1 day at building the prototype. So you need to make sure that you are working with somebody who's, kind of experts on design and building. So using Figma or XD and Bravo. And the last day is actually conducting 5 interviews. So if you are conducting 5 interviews in 1 day, and every interview is about 1 hour, and you as the interviewer maybe just have 15 minutes with a break between each interview, you're going to get so tired. So every day, it's a sprint. So every day is just, it's a lot of work, but it's also a great fun because at the end of a design sprint, it feels like you have run a marathon because you have done so much in a short amount of time. But yeah, it's a tough days of work.
Interesting. And what are the main benefits of going through a design sprint, especially when building or doing the digital product creation process?
The first main benefit is the structure of the process. And that's because of there are some guidelines on how to do the design sprint, and the guidelines helps the client know why and what we are doing, but it also helps to keep a nice progress in this workshop. And then it's because to have a successful design sprint, you need to collect all the key personnel from the client side. And that's also very nice because then you have in the same room, you have collected all the people that matters to make sure that you have somebody who is supposed to take to make the right decision. Is because we are solving complex problems, so we need that people are able to decide which way to go. Is this the right way for this app to be, or is it this way? And if the decision maker isn't in the room, then it's no use to go further. And the next way, it's fast. It's 5 days, and it's iterative because after you are done with the design sprint, you can just do another one and another one. And I think that maybe the best thing is the user testing, because you can't cheat a user testing. I think I have a quote somewhere. Just let me pull it up for you. It is kind of on the nose of why. Yeah, this is my bullet point structure. Every key person is involved. It's fast, it's iterative, and it's user testing. And I have a quote on user testing that I think is good in this section. And that's user testing is a way to be there when it happens, to make sure that the stuff you created actually works as you intended, because the best practices and common sense will get you only so far. So you could when you're doing design and user interface and trying to build the best user experience for your user, you can use your experience and common sense. But I reckon even the most experts in this field are depending that people actually using it and giving feedback on what works or not, because it's quite often that you are maybe following your gut stomach feeling, and then you see people saying that this doesn't work, it doesn't feel like a nice way of moving from A to B in your app. So it's so important to test it.
Definitely. And I think one of the key points there is to really have all the decision makers involved and not get stuck, and really cover any question that might arise during the process. I think it's really, really important. Now, you mentioned it in the process, and everyone mentions that the design sprint is a 5-day process, but is it really true?
I have to bring up another slide again, because when it started, it was 5 days. And I have the 5 days in front of me here. Just give me a second. So this is what we started with when we were doing the design sprint for 5 days. So we started on Monday with describing, what is this complex challenge that we would like to solve. And the Tuesday we tried to do a lot of, idea generation and sketches, try to figure out how we could solve this complex challenge. And on Wednesday, we had some kind of different solutions, different storyboards, and then the decision makers, the client, had to decide which of these solutions we are going to build a prototype of. And on Thursday, we built this prototype, and on Friday we had this user testing. So it was 5 days. The problem was that we had to have the user in-house, or the client, in-house for 3 days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had the client to be at our office. And, I think that's the main problem with design sprint, to actually have all the clients collected together in the same room. So this new design sprint, and this is something that we are following AJ Smart on, because they have coined something called design sprint 2.0, and it's 4 days. So you have Monday and Tuesday where the clients are in-house, and the Wednesday where we are building the prototype, and we also are, inviting and setting up the user test. And the Thursday we are testing the prototype with real users, and then also, taking feedback from them. So I guess this is a more flexible and a more effective way of doing it, because it demands less time from the client, and that's the most important thing, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. I guess you adapt to new ways, and again, getting everyone that is responsible, all the decision makers from the client side in the one room might be the most difficult part. Now, you did mention the testing part, and I guess this is kind of where things get real, no? Because you have people using for the first time that idea that you come up during the design sprint. So how do you manage to get real users to test the app?
In the app we have created now, called UREDD, we asked the clients, because we had to recruit 6 students, and the client is quite familiar with the target audience. So we were able to just ask our client, could you give us 6 different students that we could try to talk to and test? And they gave us 6 names. So this was kind of an easy way to do it. And for this specific case, we tested the app through Bravo Vision. So it's not public. You can't download it yet at the Apple Store, but Bravo Vision has it works perfectly, because you get to share your project. And while they were testing this app, I think they were testing the app for like 4 days. And we ran a Typeform survey during the test. And when the test was done, we did this interview. So this is some sort of a different way to do it because of Corona. The best way is to just be seated with the person and let him have this app so they can just try it. And then you film them and just try to see what they're doing. But this wasn't possible. So this time around, we just gave them the app and then asked them what they thought of the app while they were doing it in a remote, in a remote interview. But it worked.
Awesome. You mentioned Typeform, which is another great no-code tool that we really liked as well, and a lot of our users are integrating surveys and other forms within apps that they build with Bravo. Now, what other tool sets, besides Bravo Studio or Typeform in this case, what other no-code tools are you using during the design sprint process?
For general, I think if you're going to use a remote design sprint, you can use Miro. I didn't use Miro for this UREDD project, but you could use Miro, and I think Figma Jam, which also looks like an exciting way of doing some kind of collaborative design sprint process. It looks like a really nice contender. But for this UREDD, I have a list for you, and just that I don't want to miss any names. So yeah, so this is the no-code tools I use. I use Figma for design, and Bravo Studio for building this app, and Exano. I started with Airtable, but I suddenly found that Airtable wasn't able to solve all these complex, challenges I had, and then I went to Exano, and it worked nice. And as we talked about, Typeform to create surveys and Whereby to conduct interviews. It's like Zoom or Google Hangouts, and Notion to do all the documentation. So this is a nice set of tools that you could use to build and conduct user testing.
Yeah, I think even at Bravo Studio, we pretty much use all of them that you're mentioning there. We love Whereby as well, super easy to connect and do the video calls. And really exciting to see Shano in your list as a backend tool. And yeah, a lot of our users might start using Airtable at the beginning because it's extremely easy to use, but it does have some sort of limitations. And Shano does offer really a lot of possibilities in terms of creating a backend for any app that needs more complex functionalities. Tor, that was really amazing to hear from you and to have this time to talk about design sprints and how you apply them in your day-to-day. I think one day we should actually prepare a design sprint workshop even for ourselves to learn. It's really nice, and thank you again for your time. So if you like this type of content, please hit the like button, subscribe so you don't miss the next video. We will put in the description of the video the links to all the tools that were mentioned here. And Tor, again, thank you, and we hope to see you very soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you.